Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 91. My name is Victor Vasquez. Appreciate you joining me on another discussion where we try to break down a new movie, either streaming or in theaters, and decide whether it is timeless. Obviously, we're going to break down the movies, talk about our pros, our cons, our favorite things, and maybe things that we didn't really like. And hopefully, after that discussion, we can kind of get a good sense as to would I rewatch this movie in the future? Would I want to rewatch a scene or get that same feeling that I got when I was watching it in theaters? Hopefully that's what ends up happening after we review these movies. But before we jump into this week's episode, let's talk about episode 90. It is up on YouTube and on Spotify. I actually have my brother join me for that episode where we talk about Saturday Night. It's actually about the 90 minutes before the first airing of the Saturday Night Live episode in 1975. Really cool stuff. Definitely take a listen and let me know what you thought about the movie as well as the review as a whole. And if you thought it was timeless, put that down below in the comments as well. For this week's episode, we're going to be talking about Piece by Piece, which is the documentary and film and story about Pharrell Williams, the famous musician and superstar. I was very intrigued because my brother had actually told me about this movie. I hadn't seen any trailers yet, and he came up to me one day and he told me, "Hey, have you seen anything or heard anything about this movie that they're going to do about Pharrell Williams?" And I had said, "No, I haven't seen it." And he told me, "It's so cool. It's not only just a documentary, but it's actually animated in Lego." And as soon as he said that, I was like, "Ooh, hold on, a documentary in Lego, like animated? Like I've never heard of that. Like, why would you combine those two worlds? It just didn't make sense." And then we saw the first trailer when we were going to the theater, and I was so hooked, and I just was really caught off guard that nobody had kind of come up with that kind of an idea, right? I know that animation has been on for a while, and Lego movies have been out, I think, for the last 10 to 15 years, but I just never thought like somebody would come up with the idea of like, hey, I want to tell a little bit about my story, whether it's a musician or an artist, but I want to do it animated. I don't want to do it live action. I don't want to have to record all these different types of things. I just kind of want to use a different medium. And so that immediately caught my attention because it's so unique of an idea. So that was kind of just an overall before I got to see the movie. Now, let's go ahead and dive in now that I got a chance to check it out on opening night. Piece by Piece to me was a fun time in the theaters. It was so cool. Again, I was really intrigued by the idea of a documentary being played out through Lego animation, and it delivered. Like I mentioned before, it is a documentary about Pharrell Williams' life from beginning, to kind of getting the inception of what got him into music all the way to current day, where he's still producing and still making music. In my personal opinion, you guys know me, I throw a lot of hyperbole out there sometimes, but in my honest opinion, I think this is probably one of the coolest and probably one of my favorite documentaries about a musician or even an autobiographical film about a musician or a band. It's just so different in regards to how it kind of plays out the story. In most of the documentaries or the autobiographical films, you kind of follow the band, you follow the musician throughout their story. You see when they kind of come up with very unique or specific lyrics for a very famous songs. This is no different, but again, I think the Lego animation just adds so much to this. It just pays off very well. It adds so many elements to Pharrell's life. Whereas, in live action, you're kind of just seeing everything. Everything looks tangible and real. But in animation, it's able to add more color. It's able to add more fantasy to the world that Pharrell is trying to describe. Although he's just explaining, like, hey, I came from Virginia Beach and I did this when I was younger. When you see it in animation, though, they're able to add, like, okay, they add pictures of, the ocean of Virginia Beach. They show all the different types of things and famous maybe landmarks of Virginia Beach. And it's just able to just flush out much more color than you would normally see in a regular documentary. But also the animation adds so much to the audience because it makes you laugh because of how ridiculous it looks, how funny it is to see Pharrell as a Lego figure, but also see other artists and other musicians that know him not only voice, what they thought about Pharrell when they first met him, but also just seeing them recreated as a Lego figure. It's just It works on so many different levels, and I really appreciated that. Just as a little synopsis about the movie, it basically takes place throughout Pharrell's life. It starts from Virginia Beach, where he gets introduced to music that his parents would play. His grandmother was a huge inspiration in getting him into music. And then it kind of takes you through of how he meets friends that eventually create the group called the Neptunes. And then you just go through the entire journey of Pharrell, and you get to experience how many songs he produced, how many songs he actually sang himself, the fears that he would face when he was trying to make music and continue to make different beats that would work for different individuals. And it just shows him reaching that superstar level. And then you eventually get the crash of like what went wrong, why he shouldn't have listened to certain folks, and they kind of led him the wrong way. And eventually it climaxes with the rebirth of Pharrell Williams. So overall, the movie was awesome. It just has great animation. There's some hilarious scenes that we'll talk about a little bit in the spoiler section. And the music is dope. If you're a fan of Pharrell Williams, this is a definite recommend. And even if you're not a big fan of Pharrell Williams and his music, I think if you're just into music in general, I think this is such a cool documentary to see, just to kind of get an understanding as to how Pharrell, in his mind, like how he kind of visualized the world, especially when he was younger, how he always fantasized about the water, fantasized about the Neptune and all these different types of fanatical things about the ocean. So definitely recommend, if you have a chance and it's near one of your local theaters, definitely check out Piece by Piece. It has such great stuff in it. And again, even if you're not a big fan of his, I think there's still enough there to be wowed about, especially for the animation, or especially if you want to laugh about different types of things. I was really surprised at how funny it was. All right, those are my non-spoiler thoughts in regards to Piece by Piece. Now let's dive into some spoilers. So if you have not seen Piece by Piece and you don't want to be spoiled, make sure to jump out and then come back into the video. That way you can kind of hear what I thought about my pros and cons, and you can also put down in the comments whether you agree with my pros and cons as well. All right, first pro I gotta call out is the music. No surprise here, but the music throughout the film is just so freaking awesome, and it weaves itself so well as you're going through phase by phase of what Pharrell is experiencing. His entire discography is amazing as well. He's helped produce and he's sang so many great songs over the last 15 years, 20 years as well. And it's so crazy that even though I have listened to him for a while, it was so awesome to find out that there was songs that even I didn't realize that he helped produce. Like a couple of them that I didn't realize was Kendrick Lamar's All Right. Like I had no clue that he helped produce that beat, and I didn't even know he was part of the chorus. I always thought it was Kendrick Lamar using a different type of a voice or tone for that chorus part of All Right, and it's actually Pharrell. There's Hot in Here, which is a song by Nelly. Didn't know that Pharrell produced that one. Milkshake by Khalees. I didn't know that was produced by Pharrell Williams. So many great songs that again you either knew or didn't know, but it makes you appreciate his talent and the way that he was just able throughout that period of him being a producer, how he was consistently able to put out beat after beat that was just a number one hit after a number one hit. So really cool stuff. And as the songs kind of play out, it's just so many great hits that have you moving. At least it had me, like my foot was like moving to the beat of every song, and so it was such a great listen to have. It even motivated me after the film to listen to the soundtrack because I just really wanted to re-listen to some of the songs, like the Kendrick Lamar song, any one of the songs that he had with the Neptunes, songs with Gwen Stefani and No Doubt. So many great stuff. So take a listen to the soundtrack because I definitely recommend that of all the songs that they use within the film. Just top notch. Second pro for me is the Lego animation that was used throughout the movie. Like I mentioned before in my overall thoughts, I thought it was fantastic and it was a very unique idea that really worked on various levels. But I think what I appreciated the most is that how they presented the way that the Lego animation helped when it came to creating of beats. I think that was really my favorite part is in the Lego movies, they always show how like different types of pieces can kind of be built to create different elements. Well, here in Piece by Piece, the beats that Pharrell Williams would create with his best friend Chad, you would see those just be kind of random pieces that really look like they didn't fit, but eventually you could see them be put together and they would light up. And that would just signify this is another hit song. This is another hit beat that he can give to a rapper, to a pop singer, to whoever he wants. And it's going to work. And I really enjoyed how the Lego pieces that were just kind of connected together represented the various beats that worked. And then what was even cooler is that they took it a step further, and that when there was a dry run for Pharrell's career where he couldn't really come up with a good beat, the Lego pieces wouldn't connect. They would basically just connect for a second and then they would just blow apart because it signified to the audience that he just didn't have the same type of energy. He didn't have the same type of motivation to make the beats that he was making before in his career. So really well done to leverage the Lego animation, not only to have the documentary have a different feel from other films like this, but also to show like, hey, in Pharrell's career, he's really built stuff, right? In that sense, compared to Lego, he's basically building different types of pieces of a beat in order to then come up with a master sound that ends up becoming a number one hit. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the animation. Speaking of animation, this kind of leads into my third pro. Not only does it create the element of, hey, these Lego pieces become beats, the simple fact that the entire movie was filmed in Lego animation made scenes hilarious. I talked about how funny this film was, and I was not kidding. Snoop Dogg comes out in this film, and there is a hilarious recreation of this conversation between Pharrell and Snoop Dogg when they're in Snoop Dogg's studio, and it's just it is so funny that I was really laughing out loud in the theater. Also, what was so cool is they actually recreated music videos that Pharrell would come out in. And so that was really funny too, because again, you're just seeing these music videos that I haven't seen in like years, but you're seeing them in Lego version. And so it's just very interesting stuff that the director and the teams were able to pull off for this documentary, but it just works so well. It made me and the rest of the audience that I was with laugh a lot. So that's definitely my third pro is the animation making Pharrell's life just even funnier. Also, got to call out the voice actors that came in as well. Voices that ranged from Jay-Z, you had Pusha T, Kendrick Lamar, you had all these individuals that have worked with Pharrell, and it was even funny hearing them what they thought about Pharrell. There was a part where Jay-Z was telling the audience, yeah, this guy Pharrell, he thought he had a lot of street and like all this stuff. He had no street in him. And it's just funny the way that they were able to kind of just portray a little bit more about what Pharrell really looked like from other people other than Pharrell, since he's really the one narrating the entire film. All right, those are all my pros. Jumping into a con, want to make it very clear this is just a nitpick. It did not make me hate the movie in any way. So hopefully that just makes a lot of sense to anybody listening. This is just literally a nitpick on my side. When you hear it, you'll probably notice like, okay, yeah, Victor, this doesn't really matter. But to me, I kind of wish I really got a little bit more of it. So my nitpick was there was a part in the film where you get to see the dark part of Pharrell's career, in which he started not being able to make any hits. He was not having a lot of success with the music that he was making. He got a little bit scared about being a single artist. Like he was so used to being a producer that when it came to actually being the front and center superstar that people thought he was going to be, he kind of shied away from it. And so there was a part where he ends up calling out that he was convinced by various executives to do things that he didn't want to do, like make radio singles, make songs in this genre, in this genre. And so I wanted more. I guess I wanted this part of the film and the documentary to go even deeper, because at one point in the movie, Pharrell says like this entire process of going through the documentary and going through it in Lego animation is therapeutic. And I completely agree. He's really letting go of what's inside to kind of give us as the audience an insight as to what's going through his mind throughout his entire life and what he was feeling. But I really wanted to see if we can go deeper. And I know that seems a little messed up, right? But what I mean by that is I just wish that he can go a little bit deeper into that dark side of like, why was he convinced? Was it the money that they were giving him? Was it these different types of endorsements? What was it that kind of pushed him to the point of, yeah, I'm going to listen to these individuals? Because up until that point, he would say that he would not follow any trends. He would do his own thing. He would represent brands, fashion, do all this stuff that no other rapper and singer and producer was doing. But all of a sudden, he gets to a point where he starts listening to other people. So I just wanted to know a little bit more. Go dig a little bit deeper as to why he all of a sudden started following executive orders. So that's my only nitpick. Again, I totally get it. It probably would not be something that Pharrell would want to share, not giving names of which executives gave him the orders of that nature. But I just wanted to see a little bit more into that session because that would have made it feel even more therapeutic for the entire documentary. But that's just me. Again, I can totally be in the wrong on that side. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and move on to my favorite moment and favorite shot. I usually have a favorite performance type of a section that I include for all the movies that I review, but because this is really just a documentary about Pharrell's life, there's not really any acting or performance going on, so I won't include that piece of it. But for my favorite moment, easily the one of the funniest moments really that I can think of in the entire film, and I'm starting to think that's probably one of the funniest moments of the year. Again, hyperbole that I always do, but it's the scene where Pharrell meets Snoop Dogg. And what was so funny is that because this movie was animated and it's Lego, it's PG, nothing too crazy is going to happen. And Snoop Dogg, obviously known for, smoking some type of substance. And in the actual scene, they have this spray that is actually called PG spray. They literally had it labeled as PG spray. And they basically had Lego characters spray it almost to simulate the substance that Snoop Dogg would be smoking in the studio. And you just see Pharrell and his friend Chad start getting very intoxicated with this substance. And it was just so funny. You even see Snoop Dogg go from his Lego figure, then turn to an actual dog Lego. And so it was just so freaking funny. It caught me off guard. And I think I just couldn't believe that they put a spray bottle pass this along as some type of a fog, and it's literally labeled as PG spray. So it was so good. That was a hilarious moment and probably my favorite scene in the entire movie. And then favorite shot of the film is actually when Pharrell is on a little mini stage singing with Daft Punk Get Lucky. Get Lucky is one of my favorite songs. I enjoy it as because it includes two artists that I've been listening to for the last couple of years, which is Pharrell and Daft Punk. And it was just so cool because again, they recreated the music video. They're all wearing black. You have Daft Punk just jamming out. You have Pharrell just singing some sweet, sweet lyrics. And so that captured my favorite shot of the movie. And it hit everything I needed to. It was beautifully animated. It included two of my favorite artists, and it was one of my favorite songs as well. So that is my favorite shot of the movie. But now we get to the last segment of the Timeless Movie podcast, and it is to answer the ultimate question: is Piece by Piece timeless? Can I rewatch this movie in the future or add it to my collection of movies that I can rewatch over and over and over again? As of today, I can say that Piece by Piece is not a timeless movie for me. Again, I said a lot of positive stuff. I can't recommend this movie enough. I definitely want you guys to at least check it out once. But when it comes to documentaries, when it comes to autobiographical films, it's got to have something really special to kind of bring me back in. I feel like the only aspect that would want to get me back into this movie is the music, just because I really like Pharrell's music and it's so upbeat, it's so my style that would be kind of the aspect that might get me back to rewatching it. I would definitely recommend family members and other folks that I know that listen to music. Definitely recommend you guys check this out. But again, to me, I don't see myself like every year, every other year going through and like rewatching Pharrell's journey. Again, the animation is cool. Not the best animated movie of this year. That title still goes to Wild Robot, but it's just such a cool and unique concept. But again, I don't think I would want to rewatch and go through Pharrell's story over and over and over again. It's cool to just know once and see what songs he produced and which artists he's worked with and the music that he was able to create in his career that he continued to still create. But again, for me, it's cool just viewing it once and I got everything that I needed out of it. I got the songs that I wanted to hear. If I do want to go back and listen to those music, I can definitely go check out the Spotify playlist that they have and just listen to his music. But for me, this film, although great, is not a timeless one for me, and I would not add it to my collection. But that's my opinion, guys. What about you? Have you gotten a chance to check out Piece by Piece? If you have, let me know down below in the comments. Definitely want to interact and have a discussion. Do you feel that this is a timeless movie? Would you rewatch it over and over and over again? I can already see and hear maybe some folks that are huge Pharrell fans that would say, heck yeah, this is a timeless movie. If you are, again, let me know down below in the comments. All right, everybody. Appreciate you for listening all the way through on this podcast about Piece by Piece. My name is Victor Vasquez. This has been episode number 91 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Make sure to check out next week's episode as we'll be covering a new film in theaters or streaming and deciding whether it is timeless. All right, everybody. Appreciate you guys and have a great rest of your week.